that comes the rawness that comes into us at a time when things are in discord or disarray strips away layers that have kept us from being as connected to one another, to the earth, to the greater plan, than in times of abundance and joy, and we can just sort of skitter over the top. So now we have an opportunity. So I would like to begin with two poems. Diana, if you can put up the one from Rumi, which starts with When School and University, if that works. If not, I'm going to read it. The first one is, in a sense, the condition of the world. So, with the implication that the collapse of things have happened before, which we know. We know historically there's a rhythm that has happened in mankind, and some things we've learned from, and some things it seems that we have not yet learned. So, this poem from Rumi, which is quite lovely. When school and university, when mosques and churches become worn or get torn down, then the dervishes can begin their community. Not until faithfulness turns into betrayal and betrayal turns into trust can any human being become part of the truth. It's a small poem, but there's a lot of juice in it. One idea, the main idea, is that when things are falling apart, a deeper unity is forming somewhere. When the institutions are rattling and becoming hollowed out, one of the enduring truths is that our deeper selves are activated and begin the rise to the surface. In this poem, Rumi says that when the dervishes begin their community, that's when they begin their work. As an aside, dervishes are primarily associated with the Mevlevi Sufi order known as the whirling dervishes. Some of you may have seen videos of them or photographs. They're quite famous around the world. This order founded by the followers of the Persian poet Rumi. They're famous for their Sema ceremony, where dervishes whirl in a meditative dance and connect with the divine. I've actually witnessed this ceremony, and it's something. They are, I don't even know how their bodies continue in the whirling that they do, but they're ecstatic, and you can feel the energy flying off of them as they spin. It's really something. But they're a part of an ancient tradition of seeking to find a deeper connection to being or beingness, and seeking to find paths of meaning and beauty in the world. What more could we ask for right now? And in a sense, we're all dervishes, or at least potentially. And so the poem suggests that when things fall apart, there's a deeper unity trying to be found. And that's a really important idea for us today, where we are in the world, that we have a sense that there's something that's rising, whether we can articulate it or touch into it quite yet, but that we have an intuitiveness of recognizing something's coming forth. The second poem is about the individual in the conditions of things collapsing. And this is by William Stafford. And he says, there's a thread you follow. It goes amongst things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing, and you have to explain about the thread. It's hard for others to see it, but while you hold it, you cannot become lost. Yes, tragedies happen, people get hurt, people die, and you suffer and grow old. Nothing you can do can stop times from unfolding. Just don't ever let go of the thread. Just love that. Today, we find ourselves not in a single crisis, but in a cascade of crises that include climate crisis, our own country's democratic crisis, humanitarian crises in multiple locations across the planet, and perhaps the overarching crisis of truth and meaning. In the midst of the rise of would-be authoritarian leaders, there's a loss of trust and a betrayal. And while this variety of crises and events seem to turn the world upside down, have historical roots, it's important to realize that something more than history and politics is involved. For it is our mutual fate to be alive at a time of radical transformation that affects all levels of nature and almost all aspects of human culture. Imagine that. We're here now at this time with all of this that's going on. Whether you believe we've chosen to be here or we just appeared here, we are here. This is how we are entering into the greater world, is through this lens. This is what our life is. So the turmoil and the upheaval that is currently occurring, they're simply not historical in scope, but they're really mythological in scale. We actually have to find a way, another way, a new way of seeing. It's not simply a better world that we need, it's a better world view. And that's an internal transformation that has to happen, that we cannot expect the outside world to become perfect if we don't handle the inside world. One portal that assists us in a better worldview is through the story of mythology. Mythology can offer a unique framework for seeing the world through the lens of creation stories or recreation stories. And because there are many stories in which the world falls apart, it's particularly applicable to how we might be feeling right now as we take a look at what's going on across the world, across nations, across people, across culture. You get to see what seems like the end of the world through mythology, and it turns out that it's the end is secretly connected to a beginning. And while one world is actually collapsing, another is forming below and rising. And because we have these two stories, the story of the world and the story of the individual soul, the individual becomes involved and implicated in witnessing the collapse and contributing to the renewal. So now we're in the whole circle of this, we're involved in it. Whether we choose to take action, that's a personal choice. But we are here in the middle of this collapse and renewal. And that's a very big mythological idea that doesn't fit with modern science, which says that entropy is going to wear it all down. And it doesn't fit with religious ideas that say, in the end, the world just gets burned up with great fire and brimstone. However, the ancient stories, the mythological stories, talk about the end and the recreation which mirrors nature. And the mystery of life is also the mystery of nature, which is birth, death, rebirth, or life, death, and renewal. That mystery is also what we are in now. We are getting to see before our eyes the depth of a worldview, the collapse of a world that everyone thought they knew, and now the ordeal and struggle of accepting change. And it's very helpful to know that the mystery behind all of it is collapse, loss, and renewal. That's the mystery. That's the order at which things happen. Just as a forest can begin to wear down and the great trees fall and they begin to decompose into the earth, and out of that, the decomposing of those trees comes a new forest. The rhythm is ancient. It is the way of life. It is the way that our planet renews itself. It is the way that our bodies and our cells renew themselves. It's happening continually around us and in us. And now, if we can connect that rhythm with what's going on in what seems like choices of the world, we can see that there's a progression that's happening, and we're a part of it. It doesn't make it less painful to get that this is a cycle, but it gives us a framework in order to understand what we're going through and how we might cope with what is going on. Because we need coping mechanisms, and withdrawal is just one. It's not really a solution, that's just a way of protection. So if we can, if we're able, we're called to step into this cycle, not step out of it. In a mythological sense, the way to cope with what's happening in the world is to become an awakened version of one's own self. An awakened version of one's own self. We must take notice that even in the rattling and the upheaval of the world, that from the viewpoint of the soul is not in a state of unraveling. The eternal nature of the soul does not sit in unraveling. It remains undaunted. So we mistake that when things are disruptive and we feel through our emotions or our physical body that we are in a state of unravel when the world is, we're only riding on the emotions and the physicality of our body. And those we know do not have an eternal life. But the eternal nature of us, the soul nature, is not having this problem at all. It is not stepping into unraveling because the rest of the world is unraveling. So in a way, The soul perhaps imagines that the trouble in the outside world is the context for and the instigation for a greater awakening of self. It's the opportunity. And that's why it's undaunted, because it doesn't feel that things will collapse. It feels that things will awaken. The idea that each soul comes to this world in order to live a unique experiment. The aim is to become awakened and to experience a spiritual fulfillment. How brilliant is our soul? It's teaching us all that we need to teach and leading us where we need to go if we simply listen. So the whole thing looks different from the viewpoint of the soul. This is an opportunity for an awakening and a coming into a really creative explosion. That's what is recreation, needs a creative explosion in order to recreate. With the conditions of the world appearing to worsen, when we cannot easily see solutions, one way to understand this is to see that we are in a collective rite of passage. What is called for is transformation of the self and a radical deepening of collective humanity. And one way to arrive at that transformation is to look at our biggest symptom. So I'm going to call it out as divisiveness and inquire what it is asking from us. Where on the micro and the macro levels are we out of alignment with personal internal division and then with collective division? All while remembering that the symptom of chaos, in mythological terms, is the precedent to recreation. So it's necessary. So we are passing through this tunnel into this state of recreation, and we have the opportunity to step into it so that we can go through our individual transformation, which contributes to the collective reform and transformation so that everything can move. But it starts with us. Creation myths are here to indicate how the world that we live in is an ongoing creation so that we understand we're in a rhythm. It's not unique. We're not in a time that is so out of the ordinary that we need to really be frightened. We can understand that we're in a cycle. And while it looks quite overwhelming, the underneath piece of it is still this: in order to get to recreation and something new, we've got to go through this chaos. And we're invited, because we're here now, to participate in this process. What a beautiful invitation. As ancient people would say, the divine is constantly trying to enter the world and can only enter through the people that are living at a certain time. So in order for the divine to come through, it's asking to come through us. That's the opportunity. So at the same time, we're suffering the collapse of institutions and the intensification of chaos and confusion. The divine, the eternal, is trying to enter. And here we are, the portals for that. We get to hold that space for the divine to enter in. Of course, the divine comes in many other ways. One natural way is for us to just look at nature. The divine is all over, to look at the beauty around us. But we are also a portal. And if we take that seriously, we clean up our act. We clean up, we treat our body as a temple. We look at people differently. We step into our practices and our disciplines and our prayers and all the beautiful things that you are doing ongoing in your community. We understand those are the foundation for us to step into the place that we can host the divine to come through. So it's the individual soul that awakens first. And when enough souls are awake, what happens is the collective goes through its own transformation. And at this time, we need all of humanity to transform, not just a few, but all. But this will arise from individual souls. So the responsibility that we are stepping into is very, very important. This is the kind of creation mythology that can be helpful in coping with what is not going to resolve quickly. We have work to do. We're in it for a while. This is another reason to imagine that the process involves transformation, because it isn't going to be fixed with the next election anywhere. It isn't going to suddenly resolve itself. It's a shifting of an era, and the time is turning over. How fast that happens depends on how much we can transform ourselves and support the transformation of the collective. It's an exciting time for us to be here, because we get to step into the process. In the middle ground, the ground of uncertainty, tremendous increase of uncertainty around the world that is happening, the truth of that is happening. In the ground of loss and disorientation, this is what we call the liminal state or the liminal phase. Liminal being the threshold, neither in one place nor the other. And that's part of the anguish in the world right now. We have left here and we've not yet arrived there. And because there's a great increase, this is where we see a great increase in collective anxiety because there's an unsettledness and we feel and witness this anxiety. How do we know we've stepped off the bank of the river, but we have not managed to reach the other side. How do we navigate what's in between? How do we navigate the waters that are in between? When we identify the discomfort that we feel around us in these times as a response to being in the liminal space, people may not articulate it that way, but we can understand that. Then we remember that it's out of this space that recreation comes. It's out of this middle space that we then reach the other side of the shore. So both in terms of our individual life, but also in the big story of Earth, it becomes more understandable and easier to not just tolerate the space we're in, but to begin to build support for one another as this process unfolds. So we have an opportunity to step up to one another and say, I get how this might be uncomfortable. And let's remember the discomfort that's leading to something else that's anew. We're going to have to understand the world differently. Our perspective has to shift, and we're going to have to see both the world and our place in it differently. Part of the rite of passage is understanding that the human being has two sets of eyes. The eyes that open shortly after birth and look at the world, and the inner eyes of the soul that see beyond the here and now into the potential. There's a scene from the inside out that values the world differently. You feel that, you know that. We intuitively know that. And it values turmoil and crises differently. That we have to step into. We have to trust that this internal knowledge understands that turmoil and crises are part of the growth and not something we run away from, but something that we embrace and look to transform. So one of the old questions is, what myth are we in now? And when the world is in turmoil and when we don't see the way out, people suddenly think it's maybe we're at the end times. And that's the myth of the apocalypse. But apocalypse does not mean fiery end of the world. It's an ancient Greek word, which means, on one hand, a lifting of the veil, where everybody sees the oppositions and the conflicts that are somewhat hidden. And on another level, it means collapse renewal. And that's just shorthand for understanding the state that we're in. And the idea that it is our mutual fate to be in this together, even with those we so ardently disagree with. Even with those we so ardently disagree with. We cannot bifurcate that which is agreeable to us and that which is not agreeable to us. And the old stories are helpful in reminding us of this enduring recreation. And again, this goes against modern science, and it goes against the typical end time thinking of monotheistic traditions and religions. But it's really the story of the earth, the animist story. It's the story of nature, and it's the story of the cosmos for which we are just guests. And so on another thing that's going on is a kind of cosmological attempt at relocation. The modern Western world doesn't really have a cosmology. From a cosmological point of view, it's like a changing of the gods or something like that. And it doesn't end. It's just that a certain phase ends and another phase begins. To be alive right now means to experience chaos and possibly creation. We may be here in the time that both the fall and the chaos of falling apart is closely followed by the renewal of creation. If we can support what's happening on a collective level, that change can happen quickly. If we can't pull together enough souls to make that happen, it will be more slowly accepted, and we'll see it. Our kids will see it, our grandkids will see it. So we have a timestamp here to step in now so that we might also participate in that recreation. The soul can sit in a world of imagination, a world of deep feeling. Ancient cultures saw that the deepest power in the human soul, right next to the power of love, was the power of imagination. And so maybe imagination is the place where the big story really is. Maybe we have to work at using our imagination to create what we see as a healed endpoint. That we have to visualize and use our intention to step into that. That we have to imagine where recreation can occur and how it might look. And then we begin to work at where we each individually fit into that story. We each have a piece. Stadford's poem about the thread has the hint that we each are woven into the greater drama of the world. We're hanging by a thread that is the unique qualities of our individual life. And that's another thing that gets lost in the modern world of generalities. Individually, each human being is unique. There will never be another person like you existing in the world again. And you're here now to bring that uniqueness and that beauty into the world. That's the old story of the soul. That's the enduring story that has been going on from generation to generation. And the importance of the uniqueness of your soul is that as you live your life, that the qualities that you came in with are exactly the qualities that are needed for this transformation. And we contribute simply by being available, open, willing. We bring our own unique essence into the drama when it is really critical. This is a critical time. And the soul is prepared for this journey. The soul's already done this. It has done this same journey uncountable times. It already knows how this works. And so the soul has a response, an intuitive response. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is my unique response coming through my soul for the call of the cosmos, how am I to respond? And how am I listening internally? The beautiful meditation you did before we started our service today is that's where you sit. You sit in that stillness and that quiet, and you're able to hear what is that call that the cosmos is sending out that I can answer. Because the value of the individual increases as the crises in the world intensify and our contribution becomes even more important. There's a relationship. Ever so important is what we can put into the situation now because the crisis has intensified. And when enough people awaken to their own inner nature, their natural response, and they have the courage or possibly the recklessness to really step more deeply into that path that their soul is calling them to, then we become contributors and even agents of recreation. It's good work. That's trying to happen secretly. It's like an undercover job throughout the world. You can see this when you get on social media in different ways. There are so many souls that are really rising to what they're being called to do, and they're stepping in. So right now, we are going through a phase of being able to see the world through different eyes. And while we're doing that, we're contributing to the reimagining and the renewal and the recreation of the world. We get to see the picture, the outpicturing of that, and work towards it. And that has always been the function of the human soul. So in the depths of sorrow, loss, chaos, we have forgotten what we came here to do, what our contribution is. And in that sense, we grow, excuse me, partly by letting go of who we thought we were or we are, and what we thought the world was around us, and what we thought should be happening. We clear the slate for all of what we thought. We take all that off the table and we leave the openness of possibility. In the dark times that we may feel we're in, we understand that chaos comes first and creation comes out of that. So there's chaos and there's creation and there's chaos and there's creation. In the old creation stories, it starts with darkness and chaos, and light comes out of the dark. Creation comes from the dark. Renewal comes in darkness. In order to tolerate and also survive the cascade of crises that are being thrown into the world, we have to hold the image and idea of recreation and renewal. Ancient poets and storytellers throughout time have understood that the world is hanging by a thread. And during critical times, that's even more evident. And we are alive at this critical time and yet potent creative time. So going back to William Stafford, who left us this poignant reminder about the thread and secretly ties us to the heart of the world, I'm going to just read this again because it's so beautiful. There is a thread you follow. It goes amongst things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about you, what you are pursuing, and you have to explain about the thread. Yet it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Yes, tragedies happen, betrayals occur, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and grow old. Nothing we can do stops time's unfolding. But friends, don't ever let go of the thread. So now I think we have time. You can correct me if we don't. I'd like to lead you on a short 10-minute Maya tree meditation, the Buddhist loving kindness practice, because it is the cornerstone of the Buddhist philosophy, and it is a synchronistic practice to the work that's in front of us in these times. It really works together. And you'll see that you may have done this meditation before, this practice. If not, you will see as it unfolds why it is so critical to the stage of chaos and renewal that we're in right now. It's foundational to the Buddhist path. So are we good? We're all good? Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes. And you might wish to place a hand or both hands over your heart. And with this open heart connection, take 3 deep breaths to fully bring yourself into your body. And now I'd like you to bring to mind a person. It could be persons, plural, but a person who loves you dearly and feel how much you know they wish for your happiness and your health and your well-being. Feel this offering that they can give you in their desire for you to have happiness, health, and well-being. And take the qualities of this feeling that they have offered to you and arouse that same quality in the following wish for yourself by saying, either out loud or internally, may I enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. May I enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. Arouse the feeling of love and kindness towards yourself. May I enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. Now move on to a person or individuals for whom you feel deep love and gratitude, and see this person or individual in your mind's eye, sitting in front of you. In your clear consciousness, you identify them. You may wish to even say their names and arouse the same wish, the same sincere wish. May they be happy, enjoy happiness, and the root of happiness. May they be happy, enjoy happiness, and the root of happiness. Let the love you feel for this person or individuals radiate out from your open heart to them. May they be happy, enjoy happiness, and the root of happiness. Feel the pulsing of your heart as it extends your wish to them. Now expand this concentric circle to see your friends sitting in front of you. You may have many, many friends, and they're sitting. You may not identify them each individually, but collectively, all of your friends are sitting in front of you. And you arouse this same wish. May they be happy. Enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. Letting this desire and wish wash across them. May they be happy. Enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. And expanding this circle to include now the people you feel neutral about. You may not even know their names, but you may pass by, you may see them in the grocery store or see them at the post office, or you recognize them, but you don't have an attachment to them in any way. They're the neutral people in your life, and yet they're still there. And offer them this same wish. May they be happy. Enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. May they be happy. Enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. And just allowing your heart to just flood with light. As we expand our circle to include a person or individuals or groups of individuals for whom you have negative or disturbed feelings, for those you are not in agreement with on one or many levels. You may identify them or you may just hold them as a group in your mind's eye and arouse the same wish that they may also be happy. Enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. And knowing that this is difficult for us, it's disruptive, but also recognizing that the benefit of recognizing and acknowledging our interdependence says that we can't heal until they heal. So we ask that they also may be happy, enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. And now moving back to yourself, arouse the wish, may I be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May I be free of suffering and the root of suffering. And moving this wish beyond ourselves to a person or individuals for whom we feel deep love and gratitude. And again, seeing them in our mind's eye. We ask that they too may be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May this person I love and feel deep gratitude for be free of suffering and the root of suffering. And expanding this circle to include all of your friends, seeing them again gathered around you, and arouse the same desire. May all my friends be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May all my friends be free of suffering and the root of suffering. And now moving on to the neutral people in your life, invoking the same desire and wish. May my neutral people be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May they be free of suffering and the root of suffering. And now feeling our heart in the most expanded state with so much light. We identify again one, several individuals, or a group with whom we feel discord, how we are out of alignment, how we are divisive with. We may feel negativity, and we arouse the same exact desire for them. May they all be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May they all be free from suffering and the root of suffering. Remembering that suffering knows no boundaries. And for true suffering to be alleviated, all sentient beings must be free from suffering and the root of suffering. And so we arouse the desire, may all sentient beings be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May all sentient beings be happy, enjoy happiness, and the root of happiness. And when you're ready, you can slowly, taking your time, open your eyes. And this concludes my contribution to your beautiful gathering today. Thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to meeting you in person sometime in the future.
Thank you, Nikki. That's great.